Football. You were saying do coaches really matter in sports?
Yeah, so we coming off
in all sports.
Well, I'm gonna start with football and then I'll open the question up. But we just saw the Super Bowl, so we saw Tom Brady win his 7th ring, and we saw him do it away from the Patriots and away from Bill Belichick. Okay. One of the things that we like, the big storylines from like going into this season is, all right, we'll finally see, can both of these guys be good without each other? Can we see if, Tom Brady, a lot of people thought he was a system quarterback, but I didn't think that.
No. Huge hater.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even go that far, and then they were saying, okay, well, now we'll see what Bill Belichick can do without his star quarterback. And we kind of saw what happened this year because Tom Brady went to probably a more talented team all around than the Patriots.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your point, but just keep finishing and then I'll say something.
And then, he went to a different team, took them to the Super Bowl. Basically, the Patriots had very close to similar squad that they did have last year, minus Tom Brady, and they were terrible this year.
Yeah.
So I saw, naturally a lot of people started saying, well, now does this take away from what we think of Bill Belichick as a great coach?
I will definitely not. I will definitely say Bill Belichick is still a great coach. I'm not going to go and take credit from that because, again, a lot of those defenses kind of went underrated. We talked, those defenses were always underrated. They always somehow drafted extremely well and found hidden gems in late rounds.
Tom Brady was
one of them. But
when was he drafted?
Like sixth round.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the greatest of all time.
You ever seen that draft picture of him?
Yeah, he looks like a fucking.
This is the man who's a 7-time champion.
Looked like Captain America before he went into fucking shit.
I will not discredit Bill Belichick. He's probably the greatest coach of football I've ever seen.
All right.
Just in terms of you can get the most out of the least. And just that you listen to the players that have played for him, whether they've been on analysts and shit. They've built a system there, and it came from Bill Belichick. There's just the Patriot way was always the term for it.
Fuck them.
But the only thing I will say, one thing I was going to expound on the Tampa Bay shit and him getting a shitload of talent.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to ask me 3 years ago if Tom Brady would be on the same team as Leonard Fournette, who Leonard Fournette was in his junior year was really recommended to sit out his senior year of college because he was a bona fide, or his sophomore year and just sit out his junior year. So because he was going to be the bona fide number 1 overall pick, he fell maybe 4th or something like that after whatever. But they were telling him to sit out so he wouldn't lose his draft value, right? Still had he had a really solid year in Jacksonville the year they went to the AFC Championship.
He carried that offense.
Yeah. So you have Brady, a highly regarded running back. Then you also had Ronald Jones, but whatever. 3 years ago, we didn't know about Ronald Jones. To then be paired with
the best wide receiving core you've seen, probably.
Antonio Brown on that team 3 years ago. If you told me Antonio Brown would be paired with Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and Mike Evans.
And Chris Godwin out the slot, who was caught 1,000 yards last year too.
Yeah, I would have laughed in your face. I was like, they would have been like a
I could have
robbery.
took that team to the Super Bowl.
They got Antonio Brown. Here's the thing with Brady too. So many players take the money and will how large quarterback contracts are destroy your team. Then you have people like Brady who take significant discounts on it. Because he's making so much money
everywhere else.
He has a supermodel wife who's a millionaire on her own. He's getting so much money everywhere else. He doesn't need. It's not about the money for him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they could go spend money elsewhere. Spend money on the defense. And Ndamukong Suh on that line. Jason Pierre-Paul on that line. Shaq Barrett on that team as well. So many huge stars that have are probably, you could argue, past their prime, but still very quality high players. To be all on that same team is nuts. Especially the Antonio Brown one puts it over the top. Like
he was the third best receiver on the team.
Yeah, arguably was in talks of being one of the greatest of all time in terms of receivers. To then have the career, in fairness, he never had a bad year.
No.
He just was a shithead.
Just went crazy.
Had to be traded away from Pittsburgh. Went to Oakland. Oakland was a shit situation. Then he got cut. Went to then picked up by New England. Then got in legal trouble. Then got legal trouble. Played one game. Actually had a really good game that one game. I had him on my team, on my fantasy team. Had a really good game. Got in legal trouble. They cut him, and then he was basically like
in limbo.
The equivalent of a shadow ban from the NFL. He never had a drop off of talent that cut him out of the league. He was just a nut job, which he still probably could be. But like the fact that you're able to get that talent for bare bones on like a minimum contract. Rob Gronkowski
comes out of retirement just to play.
Just because
he did the job.
Because fuck it, and then he had two touchdowns in the fucking Super Bowl.
Yo, that Super Bowl was crazy. Like that, I kept looking at the film like,
touchdown in the Super Bowl. Like all the stars came. And
Brown had a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Just like if you told me 3 years ago they would have all been on the same team, I would have laughed in your face. But I would have bet you money on
when people were surprised that Brady wanted to go there. Everyone knows why he wanted to go there.
Yeah,
not me. Teach me.
Like he said, they already had probably one of the better offenses in the league. Okay. They had the best wide receiving core.
They had a lot of young pieces. Their defense.
The defense was solid last year.
The second half of the year before Brady came out last year, their defense started off really shitty and then picked it up a lot.
Lockdown.
And then here's the thing: the quarterback previously before was Jameis Winston, who would throw easy interceptions. So like you're giving points away to the other team. They weren't really a bad team.
That makes sense.
Just the quarterback was shitty. And you just you play a little bit more conservative approach. Bruce Arians also is a really good coach. To answer your question, he was fit. He was set up really well. So coaching does matter. Bruce Arians is a really quality coach, as well as Todd Bowles. Here's the thing: you think of head coaches. Todd Bowles had a great game plan in the Super Bowl. Todd Bowles is a really good defensive coach. I know you're saying that because you're a Jet fan. He was the previous Jets head coach. But
he's a good defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a good head coach. He should stick to defense.
He didn't have a bad tenure with the Jets, though.
How many playoff games they won?
They went 10-6 one year. He only had what?
How many playoff games did they win?
How many years did he have? 2?
How many playoff games did he win?
You're gonna take off a 2-year span?
Tough critics.
He was 10-6. They got shit. Weren't they 10-6 one year, Todd Bowles? Am I bugging?
There was 1 year he didn't finish. He had to have finished under 500.
Yeah, it was the last year.
Yeah.
With who on the team?
Huh?
With who on the team? I think GMs get a lot more shit, or don't rather get a lot more shit compared to head coaches. Head coaches are more of the face, especially to the media. GMs get ducked out a lot. But who you're signing in the offseason, who builds the team together is the GM.
Right.
So I think that plays a more important part.
Probably. So what does the coach do?
I mean, they have game plans. And
all right, my question with coaching and football specifically, right? Football, there's like 50 fucking coaches. Head coach, offensive coordinator, defense, special teams, lines coach, wide receiver coach, tight end coach.
Yeah.
Coaches for fucking everything. Even basketball. There's a fucking like
it's a coaching staff.
It's 15 of those motherfuckers. There's more coaches than players.
I used to always think it was one assistant coach. It's a lot of
no, it's a lot for each fucking Gatorade
defensive coach. Like,
yeah. What are they all doing? And do you think
the biggest part of a head coach is being a leader?
Okay.
Then it's being a leader,
and it's
having your game plan and teaching your subordinates the game plan. Because you talk about the Bill Belichick coaching tree, like that's a big example, or like the Greg Popovich coaching tree, and you're talking about the NBA. So like you build off of the head coach or the manager or whatever.
You learn from him too.
Yeah.
I mean,
You learn practices. You learn ways to speak to your players to motivate them.
Bill Belichick coaching tree. How many successful head coaches have come out of there?
It's still pending, but right now the most probably successful one is Brian Flores.
Does Vrabel count?
Yes, I would say yes because he played for Belichick. That's maybe another one, yeah, too. Then Vrabel and Brian Flores. I mean, there's a lot, and here's the thing: there's a lot of them from the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Patricia was a bust. Charlie Weiss was a bust. Romeo Crennel was a bust. There's more, and I can't think of it.
This offensive coordinator, what's his name?
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
He's still with the Patriots though. So.
Yeah, but he didn't even go out and become a coach.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask that real quick. Like, how much weight do you put on a coach versus how talented the players they actually have? I'll always go back to Steve Kerr and the Warriors. Like
They
that
had
team.
the talent. It didn't matter who coached them.
All right, go ball out.
I will say I think Mark Jackson never got enough credit for that, and I'll go down and saying that
They were still good under Mark Jackson.
They were okay. No, they were No, they weren't. They weren't the 1 seed with Mark Jackson. I think
They won a playoff series.
Did they?
I believe so.
I don't recall them doing that.
can't think
I don't
that
think they
far.
did. They play. Wasn't that the year they played the Clippers? Wasn't that when the Clippers rivalry with like that fake little Warrior Clipper rivalry started?
I can't remember.
All I know is I will say Steve Kerr, the year Steph Curry was MVP and shit was the first year Kerr was the coach. I could see Kerr taking a team that he saw talent in and evolving it to the next level. Because I think Kerr was a solid shooter and now has built the best shooting backcourt in the history of the NBA has ever seen.
He didn't build it though.
Not build it, but
Build
like
it.
flourish.
He didn't build
Sorry, not build it. Sorry, not build it. Build it is the wrong word, but flourish it. I think he turned that backcourt to the best backcourt we ever saw. It's shooting wise.
You think he did that? You don't
I
think
think-
it has anything to
I
do
think
with,
they had
with
it.
Steph?
They had a good roster.
I don't
with
know
Steph
if
Curry
They wrestled
being,
with Bill
just being
Clay Thompson too, and then
No,
but
they
you
weren't.
have an on-court coach with
They weren't.
Draymond Green.
They were not nearly as lethal. It could be that they needed one more year, but it went from them being the 6th seed 1 year with Mark Jackson. Jackson gets fired, and they immediately became the 1 seed the first year with Steve Kerr.
Right.
That doesn't usually just happen.
I understand it.
And Steve Kerr is a really good shooter himself.
Right.
There may have been practices that he taught Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
True.
And I'm not going to give him total credit.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think Mark Jackson never got enough credit.
But
Kerr should get. I think there's something there that Kerr did something.
To answer that question, I do think coaching matters a lot. Like the timing, who to sub in, sub out, plays, etc., etc. That shit all matters. Like, but there are even some players who disagree and feel like they don't need it because they know what to do. There are some people who are like Jason Kidd. He's on the court. He's an on-court coach, so he knows what to do when he's out there on the floor. LeBron James, he knows what they don't need the coach. Like I don't give credit to Ty Lue and the Cavs.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah, like.
Well,
it didn't matter. I feel like LeBron ran that whole show. If I'm being honest.
The only thing I would say is for the NBA. I have different viewpoints for the NBA than I do of baseball, and I kind of recently got contradicted in the NBA because I honestly didn't think Eric Spoelstra was all that great.
Whoa!
Okay. I didn't think that until last year.
Okay.
My opinion got changed, but normally when I thought in the NBA, I thought talent overcame that.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at, and then I was like, yo. I'm not gonna lie, I was wrong on Spoelstra,
Yeah.
but like, cause I thought you're fucking
the best players,
James Bosh and Wade on a team.
Who the fuck is James Bosh?
Who the fuck?
But he won before that.
Spoelstra?
No, that was Pat Riley.
Yeah.
But he was under Pat Riley.
Yeah, he was on the team.
So, and Budenholzer, by the way, was under. Was Nick Nurse also under Popovich?
He might have been.
I know Budenholzer was under Popovich, but I don't know if Nick Nurse was either.
Let's also not forget that Kyrie said he doesn't need Steve Nash as a coach.
Well,
I probably agree with him.
Oh.
What the fuck is Steve Nash gonna tell me?
That's still a weird.
Yeah.
What? All right. He can tell you, all right, run this play.
I don't know if
get
Steve
KD
Nash
the
is
shot.
actually running play. I don't know.
I don't know. It's up to him to
look. You mean to tell me they're gonna tell Kyrie, Durant, and Harden what to do?
Yes, Kyrie, you grab the ball. They're going to think you're going to shoot it. Dish it to KD. KD's not going to shoot it because they're going to double team you. Pass it to Harden to finish the game.
You think they can't do that on their own?
They can do that on their own, but
I think he did that on the Warriors.
Alright, so...
I think he said, yo, I'm going to just shoot this shit.
Yo, they're going to double team all three
I don't give a
so
fuck.
give it to Joe Harris.
I don't give a fuck.
They won't expect Joe Harris to get the ball.
Joe Harris ain't shooting shit. Look.
Bro, that's all Joe Harris' job is, to shoot.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it.
When they double team one of the stars, he'll be the one that's open.
He's right there
There's
in the
5
corner.
people.
That 20-foot
Two
shot.
people on the ball handler when it's one of the big 3.
Yeah.
2 others.
They're not
Joe
even
Harris.
guarding the inbound.
2
They're
others
not
are guarding
waving
the
it
other
in.
2
Nah.
stars.
They hugging KD.
And then you have one player guarding Joe Harris and someone else. So
Yeah.
it's either Joe Harris taking the 3 or Joe Harris passing to the other open person.
Yeah, like we can be coach.
Yeah. So like that's it.
All right, but you just said it. He can be coach.
We can be coach.
All right, exactly. How hard is it?
I feel like if you're a good player, you should be allowed to be coach.
The only thing I would say,
Nah.
all right,
Traditionally, the best coaches aren't like the superstar players.
Oh, like the players that become coaches?
I
What you
right.
saying?
say, yeah.
All right, yeah. I
Traditional.
don't remember any
all right.
superstars.
The
becoming
only thing I would say is
good coaches.
and this is where my point.
Well, Jason
kinda,
Kidd,
what
He
did
was
Jason Kidd really do as a coach, though?
he did good with Brooklyn, didn't he?
I think he took him to the playoffs.
Yeah, but he
What
also
happened
had-
with him? Why did he get fired?
Because he didn't get fired.
The
He
team
left.
fell apart.
He left and went to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like
And
didn't he have some
that
scandal?
was
That
when he
team
went there. I
fell
think that's when
apart,
Didn't he get Me Too? Am I crazy?
No, I don't think so.
No, that team fell apart though. Joe Johnson became cruddy. Deron Williams became cruddy. They got Paul Pierce and KG way
Old, yeah,
way past
dinosaur
their
times.
prime.
Yeah,
That team fell apart.
yeah.
The only thing I would say is in the NBA, I've been I at first thought the NBA coaching didn't matter as much. Then Greg, yeah, obviously you have some exceptions.
Yeah.
Eric Spoelstra proved me wrong. Then I would go to turn to baseball. Where
Knowing when you to call a timeout is important. So.
I
that's
think
Chris
baseball
Webber.
managing is super important.
All right, so let's pitch it to baseball then.
I've seen. I don't think the Cubs would have ever won the World Series if they didn't have Joe Madden as their manager. I think just Madden's experience. Here's the thing: in a lot of these great managers, especially in baseball, between Joe Madden and Clint Hurdle's another one, where they've taken bad teams, especially teams with really low payrolls, and gotten the most out of players that wouldn't overperform. He would allow players to overperform. Like Clint Hurdle was a manager of the Pirates and took the Pirates to the playoffs, which the Pirates have been an abysmal organization, super low on payroll, and he got the most out of those players. Joe Madden did it also with the Rays. The Rays have been notorious for low payroll, been able to somewhat draft well, but like they're able to do things with shitty players, built in a great system and play that way. And I think Joe Madden took that experience to the Cubs. With the Cubs, if you didn't know, like obviously the Cubs had the huge curse for God knows how long. They drafted really well, and I think he made the most out of those drafted players. Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and then they got a good pitching rotation, and that helped them win the World Series and break that curse. Joe Madden, I think, took that team over the top, in my opinion. Baseball, I've seen managerial shit work. I've also, again, seen it contradict to where now I've been seeing a lot of hires in baseball because baseball is now so sabermetric and stats focused that now a lot of teams are hiring managers just to keep players happy. Like young managers, former players, really no managing experience are getting these major league jobs. Yankees, for one example, have Aaron Boone. Never managed in his life. Never really had a great baseball career besides hitting one huge home run in the playoffs. And became an ESPN analyst and now has, you could argue, the biggest job in baseball. Head coaching, managerial-wise. Alex Cora for the Red Sox won a World Series with them. Probably got developed a whole bunch of talent. Never managed in baseball. He was a bench coach actually for Houston. Got caught cheating, whatever. I'm not gonna. But never had a great baseball career, did a little bit of broadcasting, was notorious for keeping players happy. That's like a new trend in baseball.
Gotcha.
So, I've seen both sides of it here. And I don't know if Christian or you like have seen that as well. It's now like I'm seeing that trend go into like coaches are there to make, especially in baseball where it's